guides. Will you recommend the Job Guide 360 interview guide to prospective job seekers?
Sure, I will. The guide is detailed and very comprehensive.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into a pretty comprehensive stack of source material. It's basically an expert playbook pulled from, 20 essential interview scenarios for a customer service relationship manager, CSRM?
That's right. And, this isn't just about ticking boxes for an interview. What we've got here is really a strategic masterclass, high-level partnership management.
Okay. So useful beyond just job hunting, then?
Absolutely. If you oversee client portfolios, manage key accounts, or, frankly, if you just want a shortcut to understanding how long-term retention actually works, the strategies here are, they're gold.
Okay, I like that. So our mission today is to pull out those core competencies, right? What makes someone successful in this role? Because the sources seem pretty clear. Being a CSRM isn't standard customer service. It's different.
Totally different. It's not transactional, not just solving one problem and moving on. It's about proactively building, sustaining these long-term partnerships. And often you're managing a big portfolio, maybe over 100 clients, high-value ones.
Wow, okay. That's a lot to juggle.
It really is. It's the front line of growth, you could say. And if you look at the bedrock, the foundational skills, the sources point to 5 essential qualities right away. And what's interesting is most aren't technical skills.
Right. The soft skills. Let's unpack that first theme then. Building trust and strategy. What are the, top 3 crucial soft skills the sources hammer home for CSRM, and how do they actually use them strategically?
Okay, top 3. I'd say empathy, patience, and adaptability come up again and again. Empathy, for instance, is not just, listening politely. It's really getting inside the client's head, understanding their position, even if maybe their anger seems a bit much, and showing them you get how serious it is for them.
Internalizing their perspective.
Yep.
And patience.
Patience ties into what you might call strategic resilience. It's about balancing internal realities like timelines or resource limits against what the client wants now.
Yeah.
They're often absorbing pressure from both sides, and you can't crack. That takes real patience.
Strategic resilience. I like that framing. Okay, so if those skills build the initial connection, how do you turn that into a real long-term partnership? One that lasts.
Right, the translation that happens through consistency, transparency, and reliability. Simple words, but hard to execute. For a long-term relationship, the client has to feel heard, obviously, but also really valued, deeply valued.
That means?
It means you deliver on your promises every time. You keep communication totally open. And, this is critical, you provide strategic solutions that clearly tie into their business goals. You've got to move beyond just servicing the contract.
Okay, but consistency. That sounds tough when you're juggling, like you said, maybe 100 accounts. How do the sources suggest structuring that communication so nobody falls through the cracks?
Yeah, you can't just wing it. It has to be methodical and customized too. The sources recommend setting up communication schedules based on the client size, their needs, their preference. So often that means a mix, like maybe weekly check-ins for some just quick touch points, then deeper dives like monthly review calls, and formal quarterly performance reports for others.
The key really seems to be predictability, doesn't it? That regular contact.
Exactly. It's the ultimate trust builder.
Yeah.
It lets you anticipate potential issues, sometimes before the client even spots them.
Yeah, if you're only calling when there's a crisis or the renewal's due.
You're already failing.
Right. Okay, so the goal is the strategic partnership. How do we actually measure if it's working? Beyond just, happy phone calls or good vibes, what are the hard metrics?
Good question. Success is quantified. Specific, actionable metrics. We're talking Net Promoter Score, NPS, detailed customer feedback surveys, and also tracking client engagement metrics, like how often are they using the service, are they attending webinars, things like that.
And the point isn't just the score itself.
No, definitely not. The goal of tracking isn't just the report, it's analyzing those insights to find systemic issues, areas for improvement. The CSRM then takes that data and coordinates, maybe with product teams or service delivery, to actually improve the overall customer experience. It feeds back into the system.
That makes sense. So that's the foundation. But let's be real, in client management, things inevitably go wrong sometimes. Let's shift gears. Theme 2, navigating conflict and dissatisfaction. When a customer does become difficult or unhappy, what's the immediate playbook?
Rule number 1, stay absolutely calm. Easier said than done sometimes, but crucial. Then it's active listening, but really active. Empathetic listening. You have to be able to restate their issue in your own words to make sure you've truly understood it before you even think about solutions.
Confirm understanding first.
Okay.
And if some damage has been done, how do you recover? Is there a good example from the sources about rebuilding that trust?
Yes, there's a solid example. A client was really upset about a delayed service delivery. Big impact on their business. The CSRM didn't just say, sorry. That's passive. They did two things.
Okay.
First, they immediately gave a transparent, realistic timeline update. No sugarcoating. Second, they proactively offered a compensation discount to acknowledge the hassle.
Ah, tangible restoration.
Exactly. That combo transparency plus a tangible step, that's what rebuilt the confidence.
Makes sense for a one-off issue, but what about when the complaint isn't just a delay? What if it's something systemic, deep-seated, threatening the whole relationship?
Right. That requires the CSRM to basically become an internal investigator. There's a great anecdote in the material about a key account. They were ready to walk because of repeated incorrect billing errors, month after month.
Oh, that's bad.
Very bad. So the CSRM realized this wasn't just about crediting one bill. They dug in, found the root cause, a persistent system glitch affecting multiple clients, actually. Then they had to coordinate intensively with the finance department to fix the underlying platform issue.
That sounds like a heavy lift. Getting another department to fix their problem because your client is yelling.
It requires real internal influence. That's why the role is so strategic. They use the threat of losing that key account, frankly, to drive the internal change. And they didn't stop at just fixing it. They set up a former monthly audit process for high-value accounts afterwards.
Ah, preventing recurrence.
Precisely. That system improvement proved their reliability, cemented the relationship. And yeah, the client renewed for another year, turned a crisis into a better internal process.
Wow. Okay, moving from system failures to maybe human demands. What about the client who just asks for the moon? Unrealistic demands. You can't just say yes, but saying no feels risky.
Yeah, that's a tightrope walk. The strategy is to try and turn that confrontation into a collaboration. You have to respectfully explain the limitations, what's not possible, technically or contractually or just time-wise, but you immediately pivot, offer alternative realistic solutions.
Focus on what can be done.
Exactly. Prioritize transparency. Shift the conversation from arguing about no to negotiating what is achievable together.
Okay. And what if, despite all these efforts, a client decides to leave? Churn happens. What's the final step then? What do you learn?
It's mandatory, really. A two-pronged process. First, you have to conduct meticulous exit interviews. Understand the precise root cause. Was it price, service, product fit? What really drove the decision?
And the second prong?
While you're doing that, you explore if there's anything that might still keep them. Any solution or incentive. Maybe it's too late, maybe not. But even if they do leave, the insights from that whole process, invaluable. That data feeds directly back into improving future retention strategies. You turn the loss into a learning tool.
That flows perfectly from defense to offense.
Right.
Let's pivot. Theme 3, the growth driver proactivity and value. If the CSRM's core job is retention, how do they proactively lock down those key clients before any problems even bubble up?
It's all about predictive engagement, I guess you'd call it. They rely on personalized service, proactive communication, obviously, but crucially, tailored recommendations that continuously add value. Stay ahead of their needs, anticipate their next move. That strengthens loyalty because the client feels like you understand their future, not just the current contract they signed.
And part of being proactive often means spotting chances to upsell or cross-sell, right? But in this relationship-focused role, how do you do that without sounding like a salesperson just trying to hit a quota?
Yeah, it absolutely cannot feel like a sales pitch. It has to be data-driven, opportunity-focused. The CSRM analyzes client data, looks at usage patterns, maybe shifts in the client's own business goals. They only present a tailored recommendation when they spot a genuine gap their products can fill. And they must show clear ROI benefits. If the suggestion doesn't perfectly fit the client's strategy, don't bring it up.
So discipline is key there. To manage all that data, they obviously need tech. What CRM tools keep coming up in the sources?
The usual suspects, mostly. Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho CRM are mentioned consistently. But they're used for much more than just logging contacts. They track the whole communication history, analyze trends, and this is key. They can generate automated alerts.
Alerts for what?
Things like identifying potential upselling windows based on usage, or maybe flagging potential attrition risks. So you get timely, targeted follow-ups.
Gotcha. Okay, let's talk about those moments that really solidify the relationship, exceeding expectations. What does going above and beyond actually look like in a high-stakes situation, according to the examples?
There's a really powerful example in the material. A major client had a critical system outage, like business stopping critical. The CSRM basically became the crisis coordinator, rallied the internal tech team, made sure the issue got fixed within hours. Fast response.
Okay, that's good service, but is that above and beyond?
Well, the real above and beyond part was the follow-up.
What do they do?
They didn't just send a thanks for your patience email. The CSRM delivered a full post-incident report. It detailed the cause, the fix, and crucially outlined preventive measures being put in place so it wouldn't happen again.
Ah, the accountability piece.
Exactly, that proactive accountability. It resulted in the client referring 2 new high-value customers not long after.
Wow, okay, that's turning firefighting into a growth lever. Impressive.
Right, and providing that level of strategic support means the CSRM has to be constantly learning. How do they stay current, stay sharp on industry trends to offer those insights?
Yeah, good point.
Ongoing education is just non-negotiable. They're subscribing to specialized industry newsletters, attending targeted webinars, engaging in professional communities online or offline. By staying current, they can anticipate market shifts, they can give clients timely strategic insights. It positions them not just as a vendor contact, but as a genuine thought partner, an essential one.
And being that strategic partner requires things to run smoothly internally, right? Which brings us to theme 4, internal coordination and team dynamics. A client problem almost always triggers some internal challenge. When an external issue needs internal resources, tech support, product finance, how does the CSRM manage that handoff effectively?
They essentially become an internal project manager for the client's issue. Job 1 is involving the right departments early. Don't wait. Clearly outline the client's needs, the urgency, make sure everyone understands the external impact. Then, crucially, they manage that internal process. Follow up, chase, make sure it gets resolved, all while keeping the client informed.
Okay, but what if those internal issues, maybe resource constraints or project delays, start visibly impacting customer satisfaction? What then?
Transparency is the shield there. The CSRM has to communicate openly, proactively with the client. Acknowledge the issue without blaming internally, that's key, and provide realistic timelines. At the same time, they're working relentlessly behind the scenes with internal stakeholders, pushing for a solution, managing expectations externally to minimize any erosion of trust.
Sounds like a constant juggling act, especially when prioritizing multiple high-value clients. How do they handle competing demands when everything seems urgent?
It has to be systematic. They prioritize based on 2 main factors: urgency and impact. How urgent is it? And what's the potential business impact if it's not addressed? The CRM system is vital here, not just for tracking, but for triaging. But the foundation is always clear communication and setting realistic expectations with every client involved.
So if client A's urgent thing has to wait because client B's crisis is higher impact.
The CSRM has to communicate that delay transparently, proactively, manage the fallout.
And this prioritization, this whole process, it requires taking feedback really seriously, doesn't it? Good and bad.
Absolutely. All feedback is just data. Positive feedback. Great. That helps identify what's working well, what the team can replicate, solidify those best practices.
I mean, negative.
Negative feedback is a red flag. It highlights areas for immediate improvement, address the specific concern promptly, of course, but also use the insights systemically. Enhance future service delivery for everyone.
Okay, one last piece. The CSRM often sets the tone for the wider service team, right, again. How do they motivate their internal team to deliver that same level of exceptional, proactive service?
Yeah, they definitely lead by example, but also through empowerment. It means setting clear, high-service standards, actively recognizing team achievements that's vital for morale, encouraging learning and skill development, and, maybe most importantly, empowering team members to take initiative. To solve customer problems without needing manager approval for every little thing. Build a culture of ownership.
So listening to all this whole playbook, it really shows the CSRM role as this complex strategic mix. You need the structured processes, the metrics, the CRM, but you absolutely need those highly evolved soft skills, empathy, resilience, communication working together.
Exactly. It's truly the engine for sustainable retention and growth, actually.
And the sources even put a number on it, didn't they? A quantifiable success metric. Implementing these strategies could lead to improved customer satisfaction scores by, what was it, 25% in 6 months?
Yeah, a 25% jump in 6 months.
Yeah.
That shows the power of doing this strategically, not just reactively.
So when we look back at the biggest successes we talked about, fixing those billing glitches with audits, the emergency response that led to referrals, what was the common thread?
I think it was consistency, predictability. The client knew what to expect, even in a crisis.
Right. So maybe here's our provocative thought to leave you with. If the real value of a CSRM is building that consistent, planned communication, the kind that anticipates issues, manages expectations, then maybe the key differentiator for long-term retention isn't just how brilliantly you handle the big, explosive crisis. Maybe it's how well you manage the quiet, planned consistency day to day.
Turning potential big issues
into absolute non-events, long before they even become a complaint.
Something to think about. That's it for this deep dive. We hope this blueprint gives you a solid framework, maybe some language, for overseeing your own crucial partnerships.
Talk to you next time.